Just taking
I love this taste.
this first few minutes to settle in and center our awareness. Maybe even let a little bit of the sunshine that's in the room permeate into the body. A little laughter and joy is a good thing. Maybe starting today by just feeling the temperature of the air in the room. Noticing sounds. Maybe even just identifying one sound to begin with. And then a second, different sound. And then a third sound. And then letting the sounds all blend together and fade into the back of the mind. Letting the mind do a mental scan of the body, just noticing how things are in the body for you today. Without any labeling or judging, just noticing. The feet touching the floor, the legs, the arms, the back, the front of the body, the neck, the head, notice what's happening in the mind today, the thoughts. Just noticing them flowing in and flowing out. Maybe even noticing if the mind becomes engaged with a particular thought, just notice that. And once you become aware of that engagement, just let the mind drift back, away from the thought, just becoming more of a witness without too much engagement with our thoughts. Practicing being present for this moment, here and now, without any judgment. And then turning awareness to the breath. Noticing the movements of the body as you breathe. The lifting and lowering. Maybe even thinking about allowing some calm and relaxation to flow in as you inhale. And let the exhale be cleansing, just letting out whatever you no longer need. And just like witnessing the thoughts of the mind, maybe witnessing the body beginning to soften as you breathe. Sometimes it's just simply allowing that to happen. It makes all the difference. Narrowing focus a tiny bit more to just the breath entering the nostrils and exiting on the exhale. the tip of the nose as you inhale, moving the breath to the center of the mind. And as you let the breath out, the center of the mind to the tip of the nose. Inhaling, tip of the nose, center of the mind. Exhaling, center of the mind, tip of the nose. Just keep noticing those two things. And as you focus a little more internally, perhaps bringing something into the mind, maybe letting it sink into the heart, something you're grateful for in your life today. It could be a very simple thing, just grateful to be here with this group of people, maybe gratitude for the beautiful sunshine, or maybe it's a person in your life. It could be any number of things, just whatever you are grateful for, just let that come into the mind, and as you breathe in, just let that move towards the heart, settling in. Maybe a little smile on the face to seal that. And then gently, if the eyes are closed, just softly open the eyes, working towards beginning our postures. But first we'll work with a little yogic breath, a 3-part breath. So notice the feet touching the floor, a little lift of the spine, shoulders relaxed, maybe a tiny tuck of the chin. And then as you breathe in, just notice when the breath enters the abdomen, noticing the abdomen expand. And as you exhale, notice the contraction of the abdomen. As you inhale, the next time, notice the abdomen expand and the rib cages moving away from the body as the lungs fill with air. And as you exhale, notice the opposite action, the ribs moving in, the abdomen contracting. And then the third part of the breath, as you inhale, the abdomen expanding, ribs moving away, and a tiny lift of the chest. And as you let the breath flow out, the chest lowers, the ribs contract, the abdomen moves in towards the body. Just notice those 3 parts of breath for a few breath cycles. And then releasing back to your normal pattern of breathing. And begin noticing sensations in the body, just sitting in our mountain pose with the feet pushing into the floor, the spine uplifted. Taking a breath in, as you exhale, tuck the chin towards the chest and begin that journey of exploration of sensation. Taking a couple of breaths, noticing maybe a stretching down between the shoulder blades or just the back of the neck. Inhale and lift the gaze back up. And then the next time you exhale, leaning the head towards the left shoulder, maybe noticing a nice stretch in the right side of the neck. Inhale and lift the head back to center, and as you exhale, leaning the head towards the right shoulder. And a breath or two here. center. Noticing the shoulders, taking a breath. And as you exhale, simply lean the shoulders forward, and you could go just a few inches forward or maybe a little further depending on your shoulders and back. Just notice where you feel sensation and take a couple of breaths. Just let the breath perhaps dissolve any intense sensation that may have arisen. And then as you exhale, coming back to center, take a full breath cycle. Inhaling and exhaling. And then inhale. As you exhale, let the shoulders come back this time. Maybe it's just a tiny movement, or maybe a little more depending on your range of motion today, what feels right for you. And a breath or two. Letting the mind and the body communicate via breath. And then coming back to center. Let the breath out. You might even, on your exhales, open the mouth a little and sigh out. Let the arms come down beside the body. Notice the arms feeling heavy as they come out of the shoulders. Stretching the fingers out and in gently. And then a loose fist. Begin to roll the wrist in one direction. And then change that direction. A little shaking out. Maybe even thinking as we move the hands, and we'll move to our feet now, bringing the heels forward, but thinking about our hands and our feet, keeping them mobile and moving. Stretch the toes away from the feet and roll them in, out, in, out. Just think about how much our hands and feet do for us, and then windshield wiper in. This movement of the hands and feet, it helps to keep the synovial fluid moving through the feet, keeping them healthy along with the other parts of the body that they help carry us through life. They do a lot of work. Lifting the heels, if you'd like, and rotating ankles in one direction. And then change direction. Maybe even noticing, like Jessica on the floor, it's kind of tough to do that. So maybe even taking the hands behind the hips if you're on the mat to help support the body. And bring the feet back to the floor and just take a moment here, notice any tingling that may have arisen in the feet or the hands from that movement. Just enjoying moving the fluids through the body, keeping them healthy and happy. And then a breath or two here. Notice the spine lifted. We'll be moving into Cobra Pose. So if you're on the mat, you're going to do Cobra Pose on your belly. So make your way to your belly. And then you might even put a pillow under your abdomen if you feel that having the body flat on the mat is uncomfortable. Just take those props and have them ready. And then if you're in the chair, let the hands come beside the chair. If you're on the floor, let the hands come underneath the shoulders. And if you're on the mat, the forehead is resting on the mat. And then as we inhale, everyone just lift the gaze up towards the ceiling. If you're on the mat, a little light push into the hands to help support lifting the upper back. Taking a breath here, and you could stay with this for 3 breaths, or you could come in and out of the posture on the breath. So exhaling, lowering the gaze, and lowering the head if you're on the mat. Inhaling and lifting back up. Exhale, lowering towards the mat. And then one last time, lifting on the inhale. And exhaling, coming back down towards the mat, or letting the head come back to center if you're in the chair, bringing the hands back to the tops of the thighs if you're in the chair, and if you're on the floor, maybe resting the hands underneath the forehead. Just take a couple of breaths, noticing how that went for the body, letting the breath help the mind and body communicate. And then our next posture is our half locust pose. So if you're in the chair, we do this pose standing behind the chair. So make your way to standing. If you're on the mat, you could stay with the head supported by the arms until we get situated, or you could bring the arms down beside the body. You could let the palms face the ceiling, or they could face the other way, depending on how your shoulders feel today. And if it's still comfortable for you to have the pillow under the abdomen, you could keep it there, or you could remove it. All these are options to find a little more comfort and ease in the body as we move through the postures. And then wherever you're at, either on the mat or floor, take the left foot back. And if you're on the mat, lift the leg. If you're in standing, you could leave the toes on the floor or lift the leg, lift the toes off the floor. Whatever you choose, just take a breath and then release that foot back down. Moving to the right side. Take the right foot back or lift the entire leg if you're on the mat, choosing to keep the toe down or lifted, and a breath. And then everyone bringing the foot back down. Now we're going to move into that again, and you have options with the breath. If you move to the left, you could leave the foot up for 3 breaths, or you could go 1 breath. So just choose how you'd like to work, bringing the left foot back, lifting the leg, taking a breath, maybe holding it for another breath or 2. Just listen to what the body has to say. And then as you exhale, bring the foot back down, moving to the right side, choosing to lift the leg and keep it lifted or bring it down and back up for 3 breaths. Hope that was clear instruction. And then everyone bring the feet back down. And just take some time here. Take a breath or 2. If you're standing, just notice sensations in the body and in the legs, maybe the front of the hips and the low back. If you're on the mat, same thing, just feeling where sensation arose. And then if you're on the floor, begin to make the transition to your back. You could start by rolling over onto one side, just taking all the time you need to transition to relaxing on the back. And for those of us using the chair, slowly make your way back to your seat. Just taking all the time and feeling the feet touching the floor as you return to the seat. And then everyone relaxing the back, and the back relax into the mat or the seat. A couple of breaths. Just letting the body settle back in after the standing posture, or just enjoying laying on the back and feeling how the back of the body is today for you. And then from here, we'll move into our wind elimination posture. So if you're in the chair, lifting the spine, engaging the midsection, and then working with the left leg, begin to lift that left leg towards the body. If you're on the mat, the same for you, just bringing the knee towards the body. You can hold behind the thigh or the front of the knee, whatever feels best for you. And wherever you're at, inhaling and exhaling for about 3 breaths here. And if you moved into the posture and maybe moved a little too far, you could always lessen, maybe taking the foot lower to the earth. And then everyone releasing back down. a breath in between sides. And then moving and working with the right leg, how you choose, lifting it towards the body, and 3 breaths from here. Maybe even noticing as you breathe that connection of the abdomen and the upper part of the thigh. Relieving any gastrointestinal distress. That is what this pose is good for. And then everyone bringing the legs back down. If you're on the mat, you do have an option of lifting both knees towards the chest, maybe even a little rocking. I wouldn't recommend it in the chair. It's kind of tough. Even though you could do it, it's just not really full of ease. And then if you're on the mat, our next posture is going to be a forward bend, so making your way to a seat, maybe rolling over onto the side for a breath, and then rolling up to a seated position, the legs stretched out in front of you. And if you're in the chair, just noticing the spine, always being aware of sensations as we transition between postures. Feeling the feet touching the floor, and then slowly bringing the legs forward, maybe even scooting forward in the chair a little, and straightening the legs, but always keeping a little bend in the knees. If you're on the mat, you could even place a pillow under the knees to find that support on the back of the legs. Notice the toes moving towards the ceiling. Everyone bring your hands to the center of the heart, keeping the palms together. Inhale and lift the hands, looking up at the thumbs perhaps. And then as you exhale, let the arms come away from the body, circling around, and then coming back to the center of the heart. We'll do that again, inhaling and lifting, exhaling, hands around, and back to the heart. We'll do that one more time. Inhale. And then exhale. And then moving into the forward fold, taking the hands to the tops of the thighs. Start with that spine lifted. A breath. And then think about folding right at the hip creases and begin to let the body move over the legs. And it can be a very slow process. And you can keep the hands on top of the thighs and keep the body lifted. And after a few breaths, if things are going okay, let the hands come down a little farther, letting the gaze move towards the legs. But being mindful of if this creates any lightheadedness. Sometimes when the head is lower than the heart, it could create some lightheadedness. So if that happens, lifting back up out of the posture, maybe just a few inches can help alleviate that. Wherever you're at, just let the breath flow, making any tiny adjustments as sensation increases or decreases. And then slowly begin to walk back up the legs, lifting the spine slowly. And a breath in. And enjoy that space in the front of the body. Take the breath in. Our next posture is our half spinal twist. So if you place the pillow under the knees for the forward bend, you can remove the pillow. If you're in the chair, bringing the feet back underneath the knees. And choosing, if you're in the chair, you can keep both feet down, or you could cross the left ankle over the right or cross the knee. If you're on the mat, straightening one leg out and bringing the left leg towards the body, the left foot is on the mat on the inside of the thigh. And you have an option on the mat to also cross that left leg over the right leg if that's comfortable and that left foot can completely make contact with the mat. Other than that, keep the foot inside the thigh. And notice the spine as you let the right hand move to the outside of the left knee. lift the spine. And as you exhale, begin to turn the torso towards the left, turning the gaze to the left. If you're on the mat, the left hand can be behind the hip for support. If you're in the chair, the hand can be beside the hip or over the back of the chair. Just noticing all of those options and choosing the best one for you. Notice the gaze is level, thinking of the chin parallel to the floor. The shoulders moving away from each other. After a few breaths, maybe even turning the head and looking over the left shoulder, if that's reasonable for the neck. And wherever you're at, just breathe, let the breath flow in and out. Noticing sensation, perhaps as the body opens a little bit into the twist. And then everyone slowly begin to bring the gaze back forward. Notice the body following along with the head and uncrossing the legs. A breath in between sides, letting the body and mind integrate. And then choosing how you'd like to work on the right side, crossing ankles or knees, bringing the knee towards the body if you're on the mat. First lifting the spine. Think of this vertebrae spacing away from each other on that in-breath. And then as you exhale, the left hand on the outside of the right knee. And the right hand is behind the hip if you're on the mat, or over the back of the chair, or by the hip if you're in the chair. Turning the gaze and all those little things, lifting the chest a tiny bit. Notice the gaze is level, the chin level with the floor, shoulders moving away from each other. And then breath. And turning the head towards the right, over the right shoulder if that feels good. Just find what feels good for you today. And then everyone slowly begin that journey forward, slowly turning the head, just being very deliberate with the movement and breath. Our next posture is our modified half shoulder stand. So if you're in the chair, you can bring a chair in front of you if you'd like to lift the legs. You can place pillows under the legs and behind the back. If you're on the mat, you can bring a chair. You want to lift your legs down? A little higher than the ground. And if you're on the mat, you have the option of lifting the legs into the chair, arranging the pillows behind the neck, and make a slow progression to get there, knowing there's no need to hurry through the postures. You get more of a benefit by slowly moving in. And just determining, how is that working for my body? John, I'm going to move the chair closer. And you really need to keep the legs uncrossed because that constricts the blood. Okay. So once you arrive in that position, you could always keep the feet down if you're in the chair. You could start by lifting just to the bottom rung. Or maybe lifting one leg first into the back of the chair, and then making sure that's okay, lifting the other. And always knowing you can move back away from anything you've chosen to do if it becomes not comfortable. And first, the spine is still lifted here, so a few breaths. And hands on top of the thighs. And as you exhale, a little tucking of the chin. If you're on the mat, you probably don't have to tuck your chin much. Just lifting the legs above the heart activates this half shoulder stand when you're on the mat. Tucking the chin when you're in the chair helps to open the carotid arteries, and the blood pools in the carotid arteries and helps the heart take a little rest. Just notice sensations in the body. Where do you feel sensation, or maybe Where do you feel a little less sensation? Maybe the front of the chest. You feel a little softening there. And then slowly begin to lift the gaze back up. If you're on the mat, our next posture is fish pose, and we take our legs down out of the chair for fish pose. If you're in the chair, you can leave the legs lifted and bring the arms down by the body. If you're on the mat, you can take your pillows and change the orientation of the pillows. And Johnny, if you'll sit up a little bit, I will let the pillow come under your back.
Okay.
Then you can lay back down. And then you can even prop that back under your knees. And let the head hang off the back of the pillow on the mat. You could even put a pillow under your knees if that's comfortable, or you could bend the knees. If you're in the chair, the arms are down by the side, lifting the gaze up towards the ceiling, opening the front of the chest and the front of the throat. If you're near a wall in the chair, you could even put a pillow behind the head just to ensure you don't go too far. You don't want to constrict the front of the throat. And just feeling the front of the throat, getting a little massage from the breath, benefiting the thyroid gland, that butterfly-shaped gland that controls the metabolic processes of the body. Also a heart opening, so thinking of the heart breathing in this posture. Letting that nourishing breath come in, and as you exhale, think of cleansing out whatever no longer needs to be there. And then very slowly begin to bring the gaze up if you're in the chair. And if you're on the mat, we're moving into relaxation from here. So if you have a favorite relaxation posture on the floor, you could actually take the pillow and put it back underneath the shoulders and neck. You could lift the feet back up into the chair. You could even go up against a wall and lift the legs up against the wall. So all of these options, just make sure whatever you choose that you're comfortable. Maybe even if you're in the chair and already happy, finding one little thing to find maybe 10% more comfort in the body. Make those tiny adjustments to find ease in the body. Just letting go of all of the work that we just did with our postures, or maybe you did before you came into the room today. Just let it go. Letting the breath flow in and out. Thinking of the body breathing here, the entire body, maybe even the skin, the pores of the skin breathing. And softening all parts of the body. We'll move through the body, systematically relaxing each part. Relaxing the feet, the toes, the ankles. Relaxing the lower part of the legs. Relax the knees. Soften the upper part of the legs, the front of the thighs and the back of the thighs. Soft. Let the buttocks feel heavy, relaxing all of the muscles in the pelvis, relaxing the front of the hips, just the entire back. Maybe noticing where it's making contact with the chair or the floor or the pillow. Relax the low back, the mid back, and the upper part of the back. Taking a breath in, and as you exhale, maybe a little sigh out. Relaxing and removing. Relax the shoulders. Let the arms feel heavy. Hands and fingers soft. Awareness to the front of the torso. Maybe just noticing the torso rising and falling with breath. Relax the abdomen, the ribs, the chest, the collarbones. Mentally relaxing the internal organs. Relax the physical heart. Relax the emotional heart. Just releasing any feelings or emotions that may have arisen. Or may be a constant companion, just being with them and softening around. Relax the front of the throat, all the muscles of the face. Relax the back of the neck, the back of the head. Relax the jawbones, cheekbones, temples, space between the eyes, the forehead, the top of the head, all relaxed. Bring a nice breath in, thinking of the breath coming in from the soles of the feet all the way to the top of the head. And as you let that breath flow out, just following the path from the top of the head out through the soles of the feet. Maybe sighing out at the end of the exhale, and letting go even a little bit. Noticing the body fully relaxed, and the mind calm and steady, but still aware. Perhaps hearing a calling from deep inside, calling you a little deeper in, tapping into your inner wisdom here. Maybe even asking, what do I need to know today? And it could be something of a physical nature, or perhaps something else. Sitting in this place of peace and tranquility, perhaps finding some clarity. Letting our inner guru tap into whatever parts of the body need healing today, and letting that compassionate knowledge flow through and find places that would benefit the most from that healing energy inside the body. It could be the heart, it could be the hips, it could be something else. Even letting that internal healer mood outside the body, maybe touching someone else in your life or something, would benefit from its healing. And slowly letting that energy return deep inside to that space in the heart where it originated. And resting in the knowledge that it's always there for you, should you need it. Very gently begin to deepen the breath. The breath awaken the body gently, maybe adding some movement to the fingers and toes, and gentle rocking of the head or the body, just bringing that awareness back to the space that you occupy in the room today. If you're on the floor, perhaps moving to your favorite side, gently bringing your knees in towards the body, using the arms as a pillow just to transition. And if the legs are raised in the chairs, making those slow and mindful movements to bring the feet back down to the floor. Making your way back to your seat when you're ready. And just a few breaths once you arrive, feeling the body, keeping the eyes soft or closed, whatever you choose. And we'll work with our alternate nostril breath today just for a couple of rounds before we end our practice. So we work with our right hand, using the right thumb to close off the right nostril and the index finger to close off the left. Taking a nice breath in both nostrils. Closing off the right nostril, exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left nostril, closing the left and exhaling through the right. Release the right. Inhale through the right. Closing off the right, opening the left and exhale. Inhale. Closing off, release the right and exhale. Inhale. Close off the right, release the left, exhale. Inhale. Closing off, exhale. Inhale. Closing off and exhale. Inhaling. Closing off and exhale. And releasing back to your normal pattern of breathing. Maybe noticing a little more balance in the nostrils, maybe even balance in the mind and the body. And then just a few moments of meditation on the breath, feeling the feet touching the floor, the spine is uplifted, hands resting on top of the thighs, just focusing on the breath. And if the mind wanders away, gentle, letting it return back to just the breath. Knowing that it's completely natural for that to happen, and there's always an opportunity to begin again. Very gently releasing the focus, deepening the breath, moving the body, opening the eyes, and returning to awareness. Just savoring these last few moments together, maybe experiencing a new place of calm and peace inside. practice with the breath together, hands out to the side, inhaling and lifting, palms together, exhaling, hands to the center of the heart. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste. Thank you.